Welcome back to Warm Embrace, a soft place for the hard parts of being human. Last week we explored beliefs that were never really ours. Today, we're talking about something many of us carry without realizing there's a difference: guilt and shame. Because although they often feel similar, they quietly lead us in very different directions. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am the mistake. Guilt and shame can feel almost identical. Both can feel heavy. Both can make us pause. Both can make us question ourselves. But underneath, they're telling two completely different stories. Guilt says, I wish I'd done that differently. It recognizes that something happened, but it leaves room for learning, for repair, for growth. It's uncomfortable yet hopeful, because behavior can change. Shame doesn't stop at behavior. It quietly becomes identity. Instead of saying, I made a mistake, it whispers, I am a mistake. And that's a much heavier thing to carry. Because if the problem feels like who we are, it becomes difficult to imagine change. Imagine spilling your morning coffee. Guilt quietly says, oops, I'll clean that up. Shame says, of course I did. I ruin everything. Same event, different story. One sees an accident. The other sees proof. As children, we don't always understand context. If someone is angry, we often assume it must be because of us. If love feels inconsistent, we may conclude that we aren't lovable. Children naturally personalize what they don't yet understand. Those conclusions can quietly become lifelong beliefs. One of the difficult things about shame is that it often asks us to hide, to stay quiet, to keep pretending. Because it tells us if people really knew us, they'd leave. Compassion does the opposite. It gently reminds us that being human has never required perfection. Let's pause here for a moment. When you think about a mistake you've made, does your inner voice talk about what happened? Or about who you are? And what might change if you spoke to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you deeply love? Shame often develops as a way of protecting connection. If believing something was wrong with us once felt safer than believing the people around us couldn't meet our needs, our nervous system may still return to that explanation. Not because it's true, because it once felt safer. Mistakes are part of being human. They were never meant to become evidence against your worth. You can learn from your mistakes without turning them into your identity. Thank you for listening to A Warm Embrace. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and be kind to yourself today. I'll see you next week.